Hey there, it's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
So there are compartmented operations at the Lockheed Skunk Works dealing very specifically with this area of technology, which has nothing to do with rockets, jets, conventional aerodynamics. And it has to deal with electrogravitics, which is the ability to create a very high voltage system that causes a electromagnetic field propulsion. So there's almost like an electromagnetic field bubble around an object. It can levitate, lift, and it can go, Mach 300 and never have a sonic boom and no heat on the outer section of it. These are very advanced technologies.
Mr. Howard had mentioned this electrogravitic propulsion system, but I think he was implying that it had something to do with the satellites that NASA's sending up on the balloons, the satelloons, and how they move them around. But this was basically all I can find about that. Nothing tying it into the satellites, but, it would make a lot of sense. If NASA's got this kind of technology, why wouldn't they use it on those, if those are a thing?
So the 1795 Supreme Court ruling, no corporate jurisdiction over the natural man. So now let's look at it. Penn Hollow versus Doan, however you pronounce that, administrators, 3 U.S. 54.1L.ed.57, quotation marks, 3 Dallas. I think that stands for Dallas. I ain't going to assume that, but 54. Supreme Court of the United States, 1795, inasmuch as every government is an artificial person, meaning they are not real. So an abstraction and a creature of the mind only. So if you do not give them the energy in your mind, they do not exist. So we have to challenge them on that, y'all. Okay. So a government can interface only with other artificial. So that's business to business, not to us. Imaginary having neither actuality nor substance is foreclosed from creating and attaining parity with the tangible. The legal manifestation of this is that no government, as well as any law, agency, aspects, court, etc., 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 can concern itself with anything.
I didn't know it was going to cut off there, but I actually got what it said, so give me just a second. He said, no government, as well as any law, agency, aspect, court, etc., can concern itself with anything other than corporate artificial persons and the contracts between them. So it's basically saying that the government can't mess with its people. And that really sounds like some sovereign citizen stuff to me.
NASA themselves have found hidden portals in the Earth's magnetic field. Yep, you heard that right. Portals are real. And they're calling them X-points or electron diffusion regions. Now, a portal is an extraordinary opening in space or time that connects travelers to a distant realm. Like I said, all my information is coming from NASA. Watch this video.
In 2012, a NASA-funded researcher at the University of Iowa named Jack Scudder observed a mysterious phenomenon. When the magnetic field of the Earth connected to the magnetic field of the Sun, a portal to the unknown was created between them. Scudder named these phenomenon
X-points. Like I said earlier, they named this phenomenon an X-point. Now, this is where it gets interesting. NASA flew one of their robotic spacecraft into one of the magnetic holes. The probe itself revealed that the X-point had potential to transport objects to the sun's atmosphere, which is 93 million miles away.
So yeah, absolutely. I was looking it up because I'd never heard of this before, and apparently, yes, this was a while back, and in 2014, supposedly there was some launch by NASA with these 4 little things that are like taking the magnetic measurements, and I just, it's way smarter than my brain can do words. Priest, slap some knowledge on us. Hey, thanks so much for stopping by today. If you're having a good time, won't you please hit that like button for me and consider subscribing? Then come back tomorrow because I'm making a new episode every day.
Let me tell you, I'm in Huntsville, Alabama. I know I've said that several times. We're the Rocket City. We're the biggest deal you've never heard of. Von Braun was here and we won the space race. We developed the Saturn V here. We built the Saturn V here. We won the space race here in Alabama, whether you've heard of it or not. And I can tell you for a fact, so many prototypes. So many prototypes. Only prototype built like this in the world. You turn it on the first time, it works exactly like you thought it would the first time. Great data. You apply for more funding to test it more thoroughly, they cancel it. They cancel it. It goes to NASA divestment. It goes to the auction block. People bid on it. And literally scrap metal vendors win the bid and melt it down for scrap metal and sell it. We could be crazy far. We could be on the moons of Jupiter. We could be exploring Pluto that isn't here anymore if we had spent money differently. I can tell you the names of so many NASA scientists that are depressed and they want to kill themselves because they have built prototype after prototype after prototype in Huntsville, Alabama.
She did say this is probably the first time you're going to hear it, and that is the first time that I've heard about Huntsville, Alabama, being called Rocket City and having anything to do with NASA. But they do have a replica Saturn V rocket out there at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, and I know they have like a space camp out there and stuff, but it sounds like NASA is black shelving some prototypes that people are coming up with out there because why? They don't want us going back into space for some reason or another, right? Sure is what it sounds like.
This is the underground tunnels of Las Vegas with an estimated 1,500 homeless people living there. And what's really interesting is that this underground tunnel exists right under luxury hotels as well as expensive casinos. The people who live in these tunnels are often referred to as the mole people of Las Vegas, and some of them have been living there for more than 20 years. And many of these homeless people choose to live in these tunnels since it protects them from the extreme temperatures of Las Vegas. Summers can be as high as 115 degrees Fahrenheit and winters can be as low as 30 degrees Fahrenheit. And being in these tunnels is their best protection against nature. And many of these individuals are able to furnish their section of the tunnels since there's no authorities coming down here. However, these tunnels, which are actually storm drains, are prone to flooding and can even cause damage or death. And many of them are prone to losing their belongings regularly. However, they don't really have a choice. The tunnel inhabitants are usually the one turned away from the limited charities offered in Las Vegas, and they have no choice but to reside in such a location. Many of the charities around the area will even supply these people with food, water, and even clothing. And according to the district, this tunnel is roughly around 450 miles long, and it's home to an entire population of people who are just trying to survive.
That's incredible. That's a lot of tunnels, like 450 miles worth of tunnels. That's a lot. That's a lot of space, and that's a lot of people living underneath Las Vegas. I know there's still a lot of people that are outside of them. I don't know if they just are outside during the day and they go in there, whatever they do. Either way, that's crazy.
It's a reactionless craft. It's a field propulsion craft. And what it does is it creates a distortion in space and time in front of it, where space actually bends. It's just technology that doesn't exist yet. I mean, you're talking about science doesn't even know what gravity is, much less how to produce it or control it. And here is a device that's producing it and controlling it. Put a bowling ball in the middle of your bed, and then a foot in front of it, take your fist and push down on the mattress. Bowling ball will roll towards it. And that's exactly how the craft works. It creates a distortion right in front of it, and the craft falls forward.
So there's a different physics that we're not...
Well, the science that explains how the technology works. I mean, it's all encompassed as one thing, alien technology and science.
What's the message of your story?
The big thing is the suppression of extremely advanced technology and the suppression of unknown science. That's it.
I've never heard that explanation before. So putting the bowling ball on a bed and then putting your fist into the bed to create that hole for the ball to fall into. That's brilliant. I have never heard that before. And I guess it's messing with mavity, right? It's creating a mavity field. And it's absolutely correct that humans don't actually know what mavity is. Do you know what mavity is?
With the declassification of ground-penetrating radar back in 2010, even though they've been using it since the 70s, there's staggering new data that show there's a labyrinth of complex tunnels that span across the entire Earth. The following discoveries were made back in 2003. Namely, the U.S. government, along with other superpowers, would find that there's actually 4 primary tunnels spanning for thousands of miles. And off those main tunnels, subtunnels that lead you deeper into the core of the Earth. They would state that the deeper you go, the bigger the megalithic structures would get. And in these tunnels, you would find rooms, huge rooms, with massive stone tables that were made for people much larger than us. What scientists would refer to as the projection room would contain all of the Earth's history, from her natural processes to the species inhabiting her. And these events could be replayed visually. Even a table you can perform holographic experiments. The type of experiments? Mixing DNA. You could virtually mix the DNA of any 2 species on Earth, and it would provide a holographic image of what they would look like. They would also discover that these rooms are over 50,000 years old, and that they're all connected to each other by some form of energy. This same energy also protected the room, and if one of them activated, all 4 would. They've also figured out each of the room's locations. Of the 4, the first one is located near the Egyptian Sphinx. The next one is located in Iraq, in underground tunnels somewhere in the city of Baghdad. The next one is Mount Kailash in Tibet, obviously a pyramid. Then finally, Buseji Mountains in Romania, where it's said that they have another Egyptian Sphinx. They would go on to say that the deeper tunnels would lead to a secret world under the Gobi Plateau in Mongolia. But it didn't stop there. They claimed the tunnels would lead to another secret world, below Antarctica. In the end, this connects to the German Tibet expedition in World War II, Hollow Earth, the all-seeing eye above the Egyptian pyramid, and much more. In 2002, the Pentagon was running many geodesic and military programs using satellites based on ground-penetrating radar technologies. And what they would find was absolutely amazing. The satellites would pick up a weird-shaped anomaly in the Buseji Mountains in Romania. They would also reveal that the tunnel was blocked in 2 different spots by the same energy. Basically, energy shields. The first one was at the beginning of the tunnel, blocking the entrance. The second one would be a huge dome-shaped barrier at the middle of the mountain. It's believed that Germans would be the first to encounter these energies in World War II. If it didn't kill them, it would send them out running with massive migraines. Some would even have heart attacks. Signor Massini, the leader of this expedition, would conclude that something important must be.
Wow. That was a lot of information. I know that there's tunnels like in the United States and in Europe, and like lots of tunnels, and they're believed to be ancient tunnels from previous advanced civilizations. Right? Yay! I love talking about that. So, and they're protected, apparently. I don't know if 100% of that stuff is true. I want to believe all of it because it sounds freaking fantastic. I love it. I'm going to tear it apart a little bit and see if I can find a little more information out of that, and I'll bring it to you in the next few days.
I was doing some research on the New York City subway stations. And it's interesting because they said that the subway stations were founded in 1904 and they opened in 1905. So they were found, that's what founded means. They were found in 1904 and they opened 1 year later. They didn't build them. They just took ownership of these tunnels that are deep underneath New York City. And it's interesting because when you look at all of these tunnels, you sit there and think, okay, you go up above on the street, you got horse and wagon and all this stuff roaming around, but you're building these massive tunnels cutting through the earth. Take a perfect example. Go outside, get a shovel, and see how far you can go in the earth. Especially in a time around the 1900s where it's very challenging to do that. There's no construction photos. There's just like 4 people standing in front of a tunnel saying that we built it. You would think if you did the first subway ever that people are blown away that they could go in, you'd have photos galore. But you only have 1 photo of 4 people standing in front of a tunnel saying that you founded the tunnels of New York City.
Sometimes I do believe that a good portion of the tunnels that we have were already here. And we just happened to find them. We're like, hey, let's dig. And they're like, oh, look at all this crap we just found. And they're like, hey, let's do something with it because it's useful. Let's use it. For me, especially, it's really easy to say, yeah, those things, were from advanced civilizations that are previous to our own because of the time that they were built, in the amount of time they say they were built, and the way they were built. It gets difficult to believe. And I just, yeah. On that note, I'm going to call it for today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Come on back tomorrow. We're going to watch some new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's going to be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.